The massive alien ship moved through space like a dark mountain. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in strange symbols that glowed purple in the darkness. Admiral Zex Thera stood on the command bridge, his 6 arms folded behind his back. His red eyes stared at the small blue planet ahead. "Such a tiny world," he said to his second-in-command. "Hard to believe these humans think they matter." The ship called Sovereign's Will had traveled for weeks to reach this corner of space. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had ruled over 47 star systems. Every planet paid tribute. Every species bowed down. It was the natural order of things. Back on Earth, President Jake Morrison sat in a white room deep under the ground. The place was called the Situation Room, and it was where important people met when bad things happened. Today felt like the worst day ever. "Sir, the transmission is coming through now," said a young man at a computer. The big screen on the wall flickered to life. The alien face that appeared made everyone in the room step back. It had too many eyes and teeth that looked like knives. When it spoke, the words came out cold and mean. "People of the planet you call Earth," the alien said. "I am Admiral Zexathera of the Galactic Council. Your world has been selected for integration into our empire." President Morrison felt his heart sink. Beside him stood Secretary of Defense, Lisa Grant, and General Pete Collins. Both looked as scared as he felt, but they tried not to show it. The alien kept talking. "You have 30 of your days to prepare. You will give us 20% of your people to work for us. You will also give us half of everything you own. If you do this, we will let the rest of you live." "And if we don't?" President Morrison asked, even though he didn't want to hear the answer. The alien smiled, showing more sharp teeth. "Then we will take everything anyway, but first, we will make your people suffer. The choice is yours." The screen went black. For a long moment, nobody said anything. Far away on the moon, Dr. Amy Johnson watched the same message from her lab. The place was called New Frontier, and it was where the smartest people worked on secret projects. Amy was one of the smartest, but right now she felt very small. "Did you see the energy readings from their ships?" asked Carlos Martinez. He was an engineer who worked with Amy on special weapons. His hands shook as he pointed at the computer screen. "I saw them," Amy said. "Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours, maybe thousands." Carlos looked out the window at Earth. The blue planet looked so peaceful from here. "What are we going to do?" Amy didn't answer right away. She thought about her daughter back on Earth. She thought about all the children who would grow up as slaves if the aliens won. "We fight," she said quietly. Down on Earth, the news spread fast. Every television, every radio, every phone buzzed with the terrible message. People ran through the streets. Some cried, some prayed, some just stood still, not knowing what to do. Father Paul Kennedy stood in his church, watching his people come in with tears in their eyes. The old priest had seen many bad days, but never anything like this. He put his hand on the shoulder of a young mother holding her baby. "What do we tell our children, Father?" she asked. "We tell them that good people never give up," he said. But inside, he wondered if that would be enough. In a city called Beijing, Dr. Helen Chang worked late into the night. She was one of the best scientists in China, and she was talking to Amy Johnson through a special computer system. The two women had never met, but now they were working together to save the world. "The alien ships have weak spots," Helen said, pointing at numbers on her screen. "Here and here. If we could hit them just right." "We'd need weapons we don't have," Amy replied from the moon. "Maybe we do have them," Helen said. "There are things our governments haven't told us. Old secrets." Back in Washington, President Morrison stood before a room full of important people from every country. Some wanted to surrender right away. Others wanted to fight, even though it seemed hopeless. "We can't win against them," said one man. "We should save who we can." "If we give up now, we're not saving anyone," said a woman from Germany. "We're just choosing how we die." The arguments went on for hours. Outside, people gathered in the streets, holding signs and candles. Some signs said, "Surrender and live." Others said, "Better dead than slaves." President Morrison left the meeting and walked to his office. On his desk was a red folder marked Top Secret. Inside were papers about something called Project Defiance. He had read them before, but they seemed like science fiction. Now they might be humanity's only hope. He picked up a secure phone and called Roger Bennett, the head of NASA. "Roger, I need to know the truth about the black projects, all of them." There was a long pause. "Mr. President, some of those projects, if people knew what we've been working on, the people are about to become slaves, Roger. I think they'll forgive us for keeping secrets if those secrets can save them." That night, as the alien ships moved closer to Earth, President Morrison couldn't sleep. He stood at his window looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, aliens thought humans were weak. They thought Earth would bow down like all the other worlds. They were about to learn something new about the human race, something that would shake their empire to its core. But Morrison didn't know that yet. Right now, he just felt the weight of 7 billion lives on his shoulders and 30 days to figure out how to save them all. In the darkness above, the alien fleet waited, confident and patient. They had done this many times before. It always ended the same way. 25 days were left. The world had changed since the aliens gave their ultimatum. On the surface, people argued about what to do. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to give up. But deep underground, something else was happening. General Pete Collins sat in a room with no windows. Around the table were military leaders from every country. There was Commander Dmitry Volkov from Russia and Admiral Margaret Stone from Britain. They all looked tired, but their eyes were hard with determination. "The public thinks we're debating surrender," Collins said. "Let them think that. What we're really doing is getting ready for war." "War against ships that big?" Volkov asked, pointing at photos of the alien fleet. "It seems impossible." "Impossible is what humans do best," Stone replied. "We've been preparing for this day longer than most people know." High above Earth on the moon, Dr. Amy Johnson hadn't slept in 3 days. Her team worked around the clock in the secret lab. They were building weapons that could hurt the alien ships. The weapons used technology that came from a crashed alien ship many years ago. "The quantum displacement cannons are almost ready," she told her assistant Sam Torres. "But there's a problem with the targeting system." Sam looked at the computer, screens full of numbers and diagrams. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that means we might hit our own planet instead of the alien ships," Amy said. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook as she drank coffee. Sam stared at her. "How long do we have to fix it?" 4 days. Maybe 5 if we're lucky." Down on Earth, Captain Danny Wright led his team through the streets of New York City. To everyone watching, it looked like another emergency drill. People complained about having to leave their homes and offices. They didn't know their lives were being saved. "Sergeant Linda Parker, how many people have we moved?" Wright asked into his radio. 2 million so far, sir," came the reply. "Lieutenant Bobby Freeman's team just finished the schools in Queens." Wright nodded. All over the world, teams like his were quietly moving people away from big cities. The official story was earthquake preparation. The real reason was that cities would be the first targets if the aliens attacked. In space, the aliens were getting angry. Admiral Zexathara had sent small scout ships to Earth to watch the humans surrender. Instead, the scout ships kept disappearing. Humans were shooting them down with weapons that shouldn't exist. "How are they doing this?" he asked his second-in-command. "These creatures should be using primitive rockets and chemical explosives." "Perhaps we underestimated them, Admiral," came the careful reply. "Impossible. We have conquered 47 worlds. These humans are no different." But deep down, Zexathara felt something he hadn't felt in centuries. Doubt. Far below the surface of a mountain in Colorado, Tracy Adams typed code faster than she ever had before. She was connecting every defense system on Earth to a computer brain called Atlas. The artificial intelligence was learning how humans fought wars, and it was learning fast. "Atlas is asking strange questions," said Dr. Kevin Ross, who helped build the AI. "It wants to know about human history, about battles we lost and why we kept fighting anyway." "Let it learn everything," Tracy said. "The more it understands about us, the better it can help us fight." On the screen, Atlas displayed a message. Query: why do humans fight when victory is impossible? Tracy smiled as she typed back. Because we're too stubborn to know when we're beaten. President Morrison made a secret trip to Arlington National Cemetery. The place was full of graves of soldiers who died fighting for their country. At one grave, an old man sat in a wheelchair. His name was Sergeant Major Frank Taylor, and he was 97 years old. Mr. President, the old soldier said, I heard about our visitors from space. What would you do, Sergeant Major? Morrison asked. Frank Taylor looked at the graves around them. Same thing these boys did. Fight until there's nothing left to fight with, then fight with what's left of. You. Morrison knelt down beside the wheelchair. Even if we can't win? Especially if we can't win. That's when it matters most. Back on the moon, Amy Johnson made a breakthrough. She had been staring at the broken targeting system for hours when she suddenly understood the problem. The alien technology worked differently than human technology. It didn't just aim at where something was. It aimed at where something would be. Sam, she called. I know how to fix it. For the next 18 hours, Amy and her team rebuilt the targeting system. They used math that hurt their brains and computer code that looked like magic. When they finished, they had created something the aliens would never expect. In Beijing, Dr. Helen Chang activated her part of the global defense system. Hidden all over China were weapons that looked like ordinary buildings. Satellites that people thought were for weather reports were actually war machines. Everything was connected, waiting for the moment when Earth would fight back. The network is ready, she told Amy over their secret communication line. When the time comes, we'll be ready too. Captain Wright finished evacuating the last group of civilians from downtown Los Angeles. As the buses drove away toward underground shelters, he got a message on his radio. It was from Lieutenant Julie Nelson, his communications officer. Sir, we're getting reports from around the world. Australian Captain Rex Murphy says Sydney is clear. Canadian Major Sophie Dubois reports Toronto is ready. Everyone's in position. Wright looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, aliens thought, they had already won. They thought Earth would surrender without a fight. They're going to be very surprised, he said. On the alien flagship, Admiral Zexithara prepared for what should be an easy victory. His weapons could destroy cities. His shields could stop any attack humans might try. His soldiers had conquered dozens of worlds. But he didn't know about the weapons on the moon. He didn't know about the hidden defense systems. He didn't know about Atlas or the evacuated cities or the stubborn humans who refused to give up. Most importantly, he didn't know that in 5 days one human would stand up and say a word that would change the galaxy forever. A word that would turn his easy conquest into the fight of his life. As the countdown continued, both sides prepared for battle, but only one side understood what they were really fighting for. 5 days were left. The whole world held its breath. Admiral Zexithara decided to send one final message to Earth. This time, he would make sure the humans understood what would happen if they said no. The alien's face appeared on every screen, on Earth. His red eyes glowed with anger and his voice was full of hate. Foolish humans, he said. You think you can resist the Galactic Council? Let me show you what happens to worlds that defy us. The screen filled with horrible images. Cities turned to ash, people in chains, children crying as they were taken from their families, whole planets that looked like graveyards. Zexithara's voice continued over the terrible pictures. This is the fate of species that think they are special. This is what happens when primitive creatures forget their place. You have 5 days to surrender, or Earth will join these dead worlds. When the message ended, people all over Earth were quiet. Some cried, some prayed. But in secret places, brave men and women kept working. On the moon, Dr. Amy Johnson made the final connections to the quantum displacement cannons. Her hands moved quickly over the controls while Sam Torres checked the targeting system one last time. It's working, Sam said, not believing his own words. The targeting system is actually working. Amy looked out the window at Earth. The blue planet looked so peaceful, but she knew that in a few days it might be a battlefield. Good. because we're only going to get one chance at this. In Beijing, Dr. Helen Chang watched her computers come online. All across China, hidden weapons powered up for the first time. The energy readings were enormous, but the systems held steady. She sent a message to Amy on the moon. Beijing is ready. Similar messages came from all over the world. London was ready. Moscow was ready. Tokyo was ready. Every major country had secret weapons that the aliens knew nothing about. Captain Danny Wright stood in Central Park in New York City. The last civilian transport had left an hour ago. The city was almost empty now, except for soldiers hiding in buildings and underground tunnels. His radio crackled with reports from Lieutenant Julie Nelson. Sir, Australian Captain Rex Murphy reports Sydney is completely evacuated. Canadian Major Sophie Dubois says Toronto is ready for battle. Everyone's in position. Wright nodded. Good. Now we wait. In the deep bunker under Colorado, Tracy Adams watched Atlas learn the final pieces of human military history. The artificial intelligence had studied every battle, every war, every time humans had fought against impossible odds. Atlas wants to know something, said Dr. Kevin Ross. It's asking about the Alamo, about Thermopylae, about Stalingrad. It wants to know why humans fight hopeless battles. Tracy smiled. Tell it that sometimes the most important victories look like defeats. Tell it that sometimes you fight not to win, but to show others how to win later. On the screen, Atlas processed this information. Then it displayed a message. Understood. Preparing for glorious defeat that will become victory. President Morrison sat alone in the Oval Office. Tomorrow, alien ships would land in Central Park. They would demand Earth's surrender in person. The whole world expected him to either kneel or watch his planet burn. But Morrison had read the secret files. He knew about the weapons on the moon, he knew about the hidden defenses. He knew about Atlas and the evacuated cities and the brave people ready to fight. Most importantly, he knew something the aliens didn't. He knew that humans had never been good at doing what they were told. The next morning came too soon, and not soon enough. Alien ships descended from the sky like falling mountains. They landed in Central Park, crushing trees and leaving deep marks in the earth. The ships were so big they blocked out the sun. A door opened in the largest ship. Out walked creatures that made people watching on television gasp in fear. They had too many arms and eyes that burned like fire. Their leader wore robes covered in the symbols of dead worlds. President Morrison walked across the grass to meet them. He was alone except for two Secret Service agents who looked very nervous. Behind him, cameras broadcast everything to the whole world. The alien leader stepped forward. His name was Chancellor Vexmar, and he had accepted the surrender of 23 worlds. His voice was like metal scraping against stone. I am Chancellor Vexmar of the Galactic Council. You will kneel before me and surrender your world, or we will take it by force. Morrison stood straight and looked the alien in the eye. I'm President Jake Morrison. I represent the people of Earth. Good, Vexmar said. Then you can sign the surrender documents now and we can begin processing your people for transport. The Chancellor gestured, and another alien brought forward a metal tablet covered in strange writing. The meaning was clear even without translation. Sign this and Earth becomes a slave world. Morrison looked at the tablet. He thought about his daughter who was safe in an underground bunker. He thought about all the children who would grow up free or in chains depending on what happened in the next few minutes. Before I sign anything, Morrison said, I want to hear the terms again. All of them. Vexmar smiled, showing sharp teeth. He liked it when species begged for mercy. 20% of your people will work in our mines and factories. 50% of your resources will feed our empire. The rest of you will live under our rule, grateful that we let you survive. And if we refuse? Morrison asked. Then we will take everything anyway. But first, we will make your people suffer for wasting our time. Your cities will burn. Your children will watch their parents die. Your world will become a monument to the price of defiance. Morrison nodded slowly. Around the world, people watched their screens, waiting to see if their leader would save them or doom them. In secret bunkers, soldiers waited for orders. On the moon, weapons charged up for the first time. President Morrison stepped up to the microphone that would carry his words to every human being on Earth and beyond. The alien chancellor smiled, expecting to hear words of surrender. Morrison looked into the camera. He thought about all the brave people who had died fighting for freedom. He thought about the soldiers waiting to fight impossible odds. He thought about the children who deserved to grow up free. The President of the United States, speaking for all humanity, opened his mouth and said one word that would echo across the galaxy and change everything. No. The word no had barely left President Morrison's mouth when Chancellor Vexmar's face turned purple with rage. His 4 eyes burned like fire as he pointed at the human leader. "You dare refuse the Galactic Council?" he screamed. "You will watch your world burn for this insult." High above Earth, Admiral Zexathara heard the humans answer and smiled coldly. "Foolish creatures," he said to his crew. "Begin the bombardment. Target their largest cities first. Make them scream." The alien fleet moved into attack position. Massive weapons that could destroy mountains charged up with deadly energy. The aliens had done this so many times before. It always ended the same way, with surrender and tears. But this time was different. On the moon, Dr. Amy Johnson watched the alien ships through her telescope. "They're moving into firing position," she told her team. "Sam, are the quantum cannons ready?" Sam Torres ran his hands over the controls one last time. "Ready, Dr. Johnson. All systems are green." "Then let's show these aliens what humans can do," Amy said. She pressed a button that would change everything. "Fire!" The quantum displacement cannons fired their first shots. Beams of pure energy lanced across space, hitting the alien fleet's shields. The aliens expected their shields to hold easily. They had never been broken by primitive species. Instead, the shields shattered like glass. "Impossible!" Admiral Zexathara shouted as alarms filled his bridge. "How did they do that?" 3 alien ships exploded in balls of fire. The rest of the fleet scattered, no longer confident in their easy victory. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council was being hurt by the species they came to conquer. Down on Earth, General Pete Collins watched the battle from his underground command center. Leaders from every country were with him, all working together for the first time in human history. "Luna Base reports 3 enemy ships destroyed," said Commander Dmitry Volkov from Russia. "Our submarines are launching missiles now." Russian submarines all over the world fired nuclear missiles into space. They weren't aimed at Earth cities like in the old wars. They were aimed at the alien ships. The aliens had never seen weapons like this before. In Japan, Commander Hiroshi Sato activated the defense satellites. The aliens thought they were just weather satellites, but they were really weapon platforms loaded with railguns. Metal slugs the size of telephone poles shot out at incredible speed, punching holes through alien ship hulls. Multiple hits on enemy vessels, Sato reported. "Their armor is not as strong as they thought." Captain Danny Wright led the first human attack on an alien ship that had crashed in Brooklyn. His team included Corporal Tony Reeves, who was good with explosives, and Sergeant Katie Clark, who was a medic. "Stay sharp, people," Wright said as they approached the smoking wreck. "We don't know what's inside." They blasted through the hull and found something surprising. The aliens inside were hurt and scared. These creatures who seemed so powerful were actually weak without their big ships and fancy weapons. "They're just bullies," Corporal Reeves said as he placed charges on the ship's computers. "Take away their toys and they're nothing." The team captured important alien technology and 3 prisoners. The prisoners kept saying the same thing over and over. "This is impossible. You are primitives. This cannot be happening." In the computer center under Colorado, Atlas was doing something amazing. The artificial intelligence had learned to think like humans, and it was predicting what the aliens would do next better than they knew themselves. "Atlas says they're going to try a flanking maneuver from the dark side of the moon," Tracy Adams reported. "It's recommending we move the Luna cannons." Dr. Kevin Ross looked at the screen in wonder. "How does it know that?" "Because," Tracy said, "it learned that humans always expect the unexpected. And if we expect it, the aliens probably think it's a good idea too." Atlas was right. The alien ships tried exactly what it predicted, and they flew right into a trap. More ships exploded in the darkness of space. In space, Major Alex Stone piloted humanity's first starfighter. The ship was built from pieces of crashed alien technology and human engineering. His wingman was Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez, who had been a test pilot before the war started. "Alien fighters coming in fast," Gonzalez reported. "They're using formation, pattern Delta 7. "I see them," Stone replied. "Let's show them how humans fly." The alien pilots had been flying the same way for centuries. They relied on their computers and automatic systems. But humans were different. They could think and react in ways that surprised the enemy. Stone and Gonzalez dove between the alien fighters, spinning and rolling in patterns no computer could predict. The aliens couldn't keep up. Two enemy fighters crashed into each other, trying to follow the humans' crazy flying. "First confirmed kill of an alien fighter," Gonzalez reported with a whoop. "These guys can't fly at all." Back on the moon, Dr. Amy Johnson discovered something important. The aliens used a special communication system that let them talk to each other instantly across space. Amy figured out how to break into their system. "We can hear everything they're saying," she told Nathan Pike, who was an expert in codes and languages. "And maybe we can say something back." Working with Dr. Emma Foster, who studied alien languages, they sent a message through the alien communication network. The message went to every alien ship and every alien world in the Galactic Council. The message was simple: the humans say no, and they mean it. Across the galaxy, other species that had been slaves for thousands of years heard the message. They heard that someone had finally fought back against the Council and won. They heard that the impossible had happened. On 12 different worlds, slaves picked up weapons and turned on their masters. The Great Rebellion had begun, and it all started with one word from a small blue planet. Admiral Zexathara watched his mighty fleet being torn apart by creatures he thought were primitives. Half his ships were destroyed or damaged. His soldiers were retreating. His empire was crumbling. "How?" he whispered. "How did they do this?" But deep down, he was starting to understand. These humans were different from every other species the Council had conquered. They didn't just fight to survive. They fought because they refused to kneel. And that made them the most dangerous enemy the Galactic Council had ever faced. 6 months had passed since humanity said no to the Galactic Council. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same again. What started as one planet refusing to surrender had become the biggest slave rebellion in galactic history. President Morrison stood on the bridge of a captured alien ship, looking out at a planet called Kepler Prime. The world had been a slave planet for 2,000 years. Now it was free, and its people were celebrating in the streets below. "Hard to believe, isn't it?" said Commander Seskatar, walking up beside the human president. The reptilian alien had been a slave soldier for the Council until humans showed him that freedom was possible. 6 months ago, I was ready to die for my masters. Now I fight beside the species that freed us all. Morrison nodded. Freedom has a way of spreading once people see it's possible. Around them, the bridge crew worked together in ways the old Galactic Council never could have imagined. Humans worked beside aliens who had been enemies just months before. The crystal, being called Harmony of Ages, sang soft melodies that helped everyone think better. Former Council Admiral Thezarak, who had surrendered after seeing his fleet destroyed, now helped plan defenses for the free worlds. The Terran Alliance now includes 47 worlds, reported Ambassador Sarah Mitchell, humanity's first diplomat to other species. Every day more planets asked to join us. It was amazing how fast things had changed. The Galactic Council's empire had crumbled almost overnight once other species saw that the Council could be beaten. Rebellions broke out everywhere. Slave soldiers turned on their masters. Whole fleets switched sides. On the moon, Dr. Amy Johnson was now the director of xenotechnology. She led teams of humans and aliens working together to build amazing new machines. Engineer Carlos Martinez and Dr. Helen Chang had helped create faster-than-light drives that were better than anything the Council ever had. The new ships can cross the galaxy in days instead of months, Amy explained to a group of alien scientists. We're sharing the technology with everyone who wants it. This was something the aliens couldn't understand at first. In the council, knowledge was power and power was kept by the rulers. But humans shared their discoveries freely. They believed that making everyone stronger made the whole galaxy safer. General Pete Collins now commanded military forces from dozens of different worlds. In his headquarters, former enemies worked side by side planning defenses against the few council holdouts who still refused to surrender. The beauty of working with humans, said Admiral Thezerak, is that they fight with honor. In the old council, we conquered through fear. But fear only works until someone is no longer afraid. That's the difference, Collins replied. We're not trying to conquer anyone. We're trying to protect everyone's right to be free. The concept of fighting to protect others instead of fighting to control them was spreading throughout the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for centuries were learning to work together. Captain Danny Wright had become a legend among the former slave worlds. His boarding action against the alien ship in Brooklyn was studied in military academies across the galaxy. But Wright remained humble about his fame. I just did my job, he told young alien soldiers who wanted to learn human fighting techniques. The real heroes are the people who said no when it seemed impossible. The artificial intelligence atlas had become something amazing. It now helped coordinate defense and trade across the entire alliance. But it never forgot the lesson Tracy Adams had taught it about why humans fight hopeless battles. Query: New hostile contact detected, Atlas announced during a council meeting. Species designation: unknown. Demand for tribute received. Everyone in the room looked at each other. It seemed some species never learned. The message that came through space was familiar in its arrogance. A young, aggressive alien race had decided that this part of the galaxy looked easy to conquer. They demanded tribute from the inferior species of the Terran Alliance. Primitive creatures, their message said, surrender your resources to the mighty Vorthan Empire, or face destruction. We have conquered 50 star systems. Your small alliance cannot stand against us. Ambassador Sarah Mitchell read the message, aloud to the Alliance Council. Around the table sat representatives from every free world: humans, reptiles, crystals, gas beings, and dozens of other species, all listened to the familiar threats. They want 20% of our people, and half our resources, Mitchell said. The usual demands. Just like the old council, said Commander Skatar. Some species never learn. What should we tell them? Asked Harmony of Ages, its crystal body glowing with calm light. President Morrison stood up. Around him, representatives from 47 free worlds waited for his answer. But this wasn't his decision alone anymore. This was bigger than Earth now. Let's take a vote, Morrison said. All in favor of the traditional response? Every hand, claw, tentacle, and crystal formation in the room went up. The vote was unanimous. Ambassador Mitchell activated the communication system that would broadcast their answer across all known space. The message would be translated into every galactic language and sent to every world, both free and enslaved. The Vorthan Empire expected fear, negotiation, or desperate attempts to buy peace. Instead, they received something that made their leaders step back in confusion. 47 different species, speaking in unison, gave the same answer their human friends had taught them. No. The single word echoed across space, translated into thousands of languages but carrying the same meaning everywhere. It was more than just a refusal. It was a promise that tyranny would always find resistance among those brave enough to stand up. The galaxy had learned something important. Some words, when spoken by people who refuse to kneel, can topple empires and birth new ages of freedom. And humanity's gift to the galaxy wasn't just better technology or military tactics. It was the simple but powerful idea that everyone deserved to be free, and that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. As the message spread across the stars, enslaved peoples on distant worlds heard it and began to hope. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of freedom had begun. And it all started with one small planet that refused to surrender. and one word that changed everything.